Have you ever just stopped and wondered how the world actually works? Not the big philosophical stuff, but the real nitty-gritty. How things get made, how services get delivered, how it all just kind of comes together. Well, believe it or not, there's a hidden science behind it all, an invisible engine that powers pretty much everything we do. Let's get into it.
I mean, just think about the coffee you had this morning. Seems simple, right? You just got it. But how did it really get to you? Where did those beans even come from? Who roasted them? How did they end up in a bag, on a truck, in a store, and finally, into your cup, all hot and ready to go? You see, that simple cup of coffee is actually the finish line for this absolutely mind-bogglingly complex process. We're talking about a chain of events that stretches across continents, a process that involves dozens of companies and literally thousands of people. And the fact that this happens reliably every single day for millions of us, well, that's not luck. It's a discipline. It's a science.
And that discipline, it's called operations management. So today, we're going to peel back the curtain and take a good look at this invisible engine. We're going to finally understand the science of how. So what is the science exactly? Well, operations management, or OM for short, is really the art and science of transformation. It's all about taking inputs, things like raw materials, labor, capital, and efficiently turning them into the outputs that we, the customers, actually want. Whether that's a new smartphone or a stay in a hospital, OM is the whole process that creates that value. So how do you know if you're any good at it? How do we measure success in OM? Well, the key metric here is productivity. And it's this beautiful, simple ratio. It's just the outputs you create divided by the inputs you used. Improving this number is the name of the game. Seriously. Every operations manager on the planet wakes up thinking, how do we make more or better with less? That's the constant challenge.
But here's the thing. Improving productivity isn't just some random process. It has to serve a bigger purpose, a company's core strategy. See, before you can figure out how you're going to do things, you first have to decide what you're trying to achieve in the first place. That right there is the competitive blueprint.
And businesses usually compete in one of three main ways. First up is differentiation. Be better. Think Apple. You're not just buying a phone, you're buying that unique design, that ecosystem. Second, cost leadership. Be cheaper. Like Haier, who cranks out efficient appliances for a great price. And third, response. Be faster. Think FedEx. When you absolutely positively need it there overnight, that's their game. Every single decision a company makes is designed to support one of these strategies. And this isn't just theory. Check out this quote from a local plumbing company. It perfectly nails what a response strategy looks like in the real world. Their goal isn't to be the cheapest plumber. Nope. Their goal is to be the one who shows up at 2 a.m. on a Sunday when your pipe bursts and with no extra charge. This just shows how a crystal clear strategy drives every single thing they do. Okay, having a great strategy is one thing. But, executing it, that's a whole different ballgame. And that brings us down to the factory floor, the service desk, right into the heart of the operation where the actual work gets done. So how do you make sure you're making things right every single time? Well, the modern answer is this philosophy called total quality management, or TQM. And the key word here is total. See, TQM says that quality isn't just the job of some inspector at the end of the assembly line. It is everyone's job, from the CEO right down to the person sweeping the floors. It's a full company-wide commitment to being excellent. But okay, with so many things you could improve, where do you even start? Well, OM has tools for that. Take a look at this Pareto chart from a Hard Rock Hotel case study. You can see right away that one bar just towers over the others. A whopping 72% of all complaints were about one thing: room service. So instead of trying to fix everything all at once, TQM uses data to focus energy where it's going to have the biggest impact. You fix room service, you've just wiped out the vast majority of your problems. And one of the most powerful ideas in TQM is something called source inspection. The logic is so simple but so powerful. You can't inspect quality into a product at the end of the line. You have to build it in from the very start, and this empowers every single employee. Their job is to make sure their piece of the work is perfect before they hand it off to the next person, who they treat as their customer. It just fundamentally changes the game from catching mistakes to preventing them from ever happening. All right, so we've talked strategy and quality inside a single company, but in our world today, no company is an island.
They're all just one part of this massive interconnected web that stretches across the entire globe. And this is the world of the supply chain. Now, trying to manage this global puzzle is incredibly hard. And one of the biggest headaches is something called the bullwhip effect. I mean, just imagine cracking a whip, right? A tiny little flick of your wrist creates this huge, violent wave at the end. Well, the exact same thing happens in supply chains, but with information about demand. Let's just walk through it. Say customer demand for something goes up just a tiny bit. The retailer sees this, gets a little nervous about running out, and orders a bit extra, a safety stock, from their distributor. Well, the distributor sees this bigger than normal order and thinks, whoa, demand is really taking off. So they order an even bigger safety stock from the manufacturer. By the time that signal gets all the way to the factory, it looks like a massive permanent surge in demand, causing them to ramp up production like crazy. A tiny little ripple becomes a tidal wave of waste and inefficiency. So, how do you make smart decisions in such a complex world? Well, operations managers use structured tools. This here is a simplified look at something called the factor rating method, which you might use to pick a location for a new store. You figure out what factors are important, like traffic, give each one a weight, and then you score each potential site. It turns what could be a gut feeling decision into a logical, data-driven analysis. And as you can see, when you do the math, site A with a score of 70.5 is the clear winner here. You know, we have journeyed from a single cup of coffee all the way to the global supply chain, from high-level strategy to the nuts and bolts of quality. And in doing all that, you've actually gained a new kind of vision. You've picked up a new superpower. From now on, you're going to see it everywhere. You'll see it in the layout of the grocery store, which is designed to maximize profit. You'll see it in the incredible efficiency of an emergency room, and in the crazy logistics that got that package to your door in just 2 days. Operations management, it's not just some business school topic. It's the invisible, underlying code that makes our modern lives possible. So you now have this lens to see the how, and that leads to the really big question for the future. You know, as these powerful forces like AI and the global demand for sustainability start to reshape everything, what's this invisible engine going to look like? How are we going to make things better, cheaper, and faster on a planet that's constantly changing? Now that you can see the code, you can start to imagine how it might be rewritten.